man, it has been a long time since I've made a video. Many months, and I don't even really know what this video will be about, but I wanted to get back in the saddle today a little bit and just see what happens. Today's maybe not the best day to do this because my wisdom tooth is acting up again and bugging me, so talking is a little weird, but we'll roll with it and see what happens. So, like I said, it's been a while. A lot has happened over the past number of months. Where I left off, as far as I can remember, was ironically being back to work and doing okay with all that was on my plate, with still being able to keep up healthy habits and accomplish things outside of work. And that has not been the case for the last number of months. Things have been extremely challenging. I'm just getting over burnout for the past probably 3 months. Things have been rough in general over the past 9 months with being back to work at a day job plus my 2 part-time seasonal jobs. And so I've been in survival mode. It's been one thing after another with work and outside of work, which is kind of funny to look back on. Last summer, I shared my God story at my church, and part of that had to do with going back to work to a day job, and I had come to the point of surrender. Essentially, there were hesitations with committing to a day job when I had been doing so well last year with my health, and I had fears under the surface that I didn't realize initially, and that was the fear of what if I never get back to feeling like myself again? What if I never get back to the healthy baseline that I had? And so it was coming to the point of surrender, of believing that this was what God had next for me, and so I did just surrender that concussion journey and surrender the need to have an ending for it. For years and years, it was, God, give me permanent solutions for all of my health issues. Like, I want to ideally get back to normal, at least have a path, a trajectory that I can work towards improving things. Give me answers, essentially. And so I surrendered that, and then ever since, it's been one thing after another. God has tested me in all areas of my life over the past number of months, with work stuff, with people stuff, with health stuff. Just trying to work through a lot, trying to learn to trust Him on a daily basis. And things have, like I said, been very, very rough. However, I think I'm finally past the burnout. As of last week, I wrapped up one seasonal part-time job, and at the end of this week, I will be wrapping up the other, and I've also wrapped up a number of day job projects. So, and I've banked up a lot of hours, so I can cut back on the day job. I will have weekends open again, which will be amazing, just to have days off, time off, because basically from January until now, there hasn't been many days off. It's been pretty nonstop, which is not good for me, not good for my health. So I did slip up on a lot of the healthy habits that I had. I did the best I could, but I've definitely taken a step back with my habits and my health. Eating has been an issue. I've gained a lot of weight. I'm trying to get that back on track. At the end of last year, I finished my literal every single day 10,000 steps goal because I got very close the previous year until I got sick at the end of the year, which I did make a video about the decision to not force it. So at the start of this year, I felt really good about not forcing that 10,000 steps every day. It was a relief in a lot of ways, but overall, that means that there are some days where I don't get that, and so my daily exercise, my daily number of steps with walking has been less overall, and so that's contributed to things as well. So there's just a lot that I'm hoping to get back on track with here moving forward, and getting some time and space, especially mentally, I'm hoping will help. But then I get to this point where I think I'm past the burnout, and it's been really amazing just the past week to start to be able to think about the future again and have certain interests and hobbies resurface that have been dormant for months. Consuming content around creative stuff and business stuff, entrepreneurial things, and wanting to make courses again, get into teaching, and things that have been neglected, but not because I was choosing to neglect them, but because I didn't really have time, but mostly I just wasn't in that headspace. I didn't have mental clarity for the past number of months. So it's exciting to feel, that I'm starting to get myself back a little bit, and that I am connecting to these hobbies and interests that I think I've made it through. But then with me, I get into the trouble of wanting to get ahead of myself. Okay, now I'm back. Like, let's do all of the things. And, I've got to-do lists that have been piling up for months and months and months. So there's, my physical environment is chaos. There's a lot that I would like to get in order in that sense. And then then I'm off and running, wanting to do creative entrepreneurial things. And okay, this chapter's shifting, and so I can get into what's next and trying to make my own income or increase that a little bit, and take some time off, ideally, after this year of work, and just reset. And so for me, the challenge is making sure that I don't rush things, that, I still work tonight. I had a bit of time today. I did not plan on making a video prior to this morning, but just was in the mood to do that. But I have a little bit of time, and it's like, okay, now we're off and running. But like, the reality is I have some time today. Like, I'm still in a busy season of work. There's still a lot to figure out, and so it's just not rushing things, making sure that I'm approaching this next chapter slowly, and still tuning into God for what He wants. Because last year, 2 years ago, when I decided to take the whole year off from a typical day job, I had a ton of plans on making my creative entrepreneurial dreams a reality, and I went hard with some things initially, with trying to create a Skillshare course and really deliberately working on things, forcing myself to focus. And I thought the year was going to be about creating some income for myself, and it wasn't long before God steered me completely in the opposite direction of just letting go of the need to make any money in the year and just step back. And that was an amazing year, the best year of my life. It was so rejuvenating, and it was one that was teaching me to trust God and to just let go of the need to hurry up and figure out my life and career stuff and job stuff, and just take a step back and be okay with not accomplishing, not doing, just existing and getting myself back. And like I said, it was an amazing year. And then, going into this year, I knew it was going to be challenging, but I did not think it would be nearly this challenging, because the day job that I have right now is covering for a maternity leave, which is just a 1-year contract, but I've done the job twice before, so job-wise, I thought I knew what I was getting into. But there were some extra things this time around with the job, and extra things this time around with life, and so it was still much better than the first time around, because the first time around was shortly after my last concussion, and I was still very depressed at that time, a lot of mental health issues and physical health issues. So that's part of the reason why this time around I thought would be okay, because I was coming into it with a much better baseline than the second time around. The second time around was also challenging with my health, but this time I made some changes with sleep. So going in later, my commute is long, so I used to have to get up very early to make it to work by 9. And this time around, I decided, no, I'm not doing that. And so I thought, better baseline and more sleep, this could be a great year. And it has not been great. It has been way more difficult than the second time around. But God has used it profoundly already to shape me, to learn what surrender actually is, which I've been pleasantly surprised at how I've held up in the surrender attitude throughout the ups and downs. I knew that, it's one thing to say you're surrendered, but a very different thing to actually live that. And I'm pleased overall. Like, I've definitely slipped up, but I do think, my heart posture has been surrender. So, yeah, it's been a challenging year, but I've learned a lot. God has taught me a lot. Just life stuff in general, people stuff, work stuff. I've learned so much more about myself, and I hope to get into that in a future video, but yeah, there's a lot that has happened, and there are a lot of things that I learned that I always would like to share, because once that initial moment of learning is past, then I've usually moved on to something else, and then I never share that thing. So ideally, I can get into some of that in the future, but at the same time, still learning to let go of the need to have all of that, to want to document everything, to share all that I'm learning, and just, trying to still, in my life, be patient with the process, slow down, know that I don't have to have it all figured out, and I never will, and just learning to be patient with the process and not rush into things. So moving forward, I still am at the day job for another few months, but it should be more manageable, at least on paper. There will be a busy season of that towards the end, but I do think that things will let up a little bit here, and I will get into a routine. Just the next few months, I will have a consistent schedule, which will be nice for a change. It's been all over the place with juggling multiple jobs, so it'll be nice to have the same routine and schedule basically every single week. Hopefully I can get into a good rhythm with my healthy choices too, reclaiming all of that, and ideally having some free time, some more mental clarity to process things and just reflect on the last number of months and what I have learned. So I'm not completely out of the woods yet with the day job, and I don't know what's ahead after that, other than my initial plan was to take some time off again. I figured I would need that, and I definitely do. But yeah, it's still amazing how God has shifted things in my life, even with thinking about work and day jobs for so many years. Well, for most of my life, it was this huge burden to find a career, and there was a lot of self-worth tied into that as well, and this pressure that I put on myself to have a day job, to have a career, and I've never had that, but God has provided every step of the way financially, and He's brought me to a point where I don't stress about what's next job-wise, and that's been really neat the past couple years to have that perspective, like to not know what's next and not be worried about it at all. You know, as things progress here, I do start thinking about the future, and I love possibility and planning, and so there are things in the back of my mind related to job stuff, what's next, that were there last time around as well. So there's certainly ideas for next steps with job stuff, but for now, I don't need to worry about that. Well, at any point, I don't need to worry about that. But yeah, that's an update on life the past number of months and how I'll finish off the next few months. I have no idea whether I'll be making videos or not. I hope to be back doing that. Maybe not regularly, but a little more often than a couple times a year. So we'll see what happens. But as always, I am just trying to not force things, not rush things, and not need to figure everything out, not need to have it all in place. Just still always trying to learn to take things one day at a time. So that is what ended up being on the docket for today, was making a video, which, like I said, I had no plans to do, so it's neat to have been able to do that this morning and be in the mood and feel like it's just one more thing that is tapping into previous hobbies and interests and actions that are in line with just starting to feel a little more like myself again. So that's exciting, but yeah, try not to get ahead of myself here and just take things one day at a time. So until next time.